What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady, and the Chef, joined by my co-host today.
D Block 21. What's up?
It's another day of talking Knicks talks. Plus, we also going to cover some New York Liberty talk as well. Um, as far as the Knicks go, the Knicks do have a pretty busy, or I would like to call it a busy off season that they need to, get at this year. Um, I feel like it's kind of a busy off season because of the way the Knicks finished off last year, winning 50 wins. I believe that's the first time the Knicks have done that in 10 years. It's funny how the Knicks are having these like first and after so many years of playing, but we all know the Knicks were very dreaded for years prior. Um, but I think that there's going to be a lot of key players who's going to be entering free agency. The front office will probably be dishing out some new contracts, and maybe the Knicks could finally trade for a star. So we'll see how that ends up playing out for the Knicks. Um, the Knicks also did forget, fail to mention that they were one win away from making the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000. So, you place that with the 50 wins. It's like, things that haven't been done in a very long time, which motivates the front office to make moves to put the right players in place to get this team to the next level. While I think Leon Rose has done a good job putting together a almost perfect team, I just think that this summer, him and the front office have to make some key subtractions, additions to prepare for the next season of 24-25. Um, and I think that, there's some players that on this Knicks team that I don't know if they're going to be coming back, but I think that's here to us to talk about and discuss and debate if there are going to be some players that's coming back for this Knicks team. Do you think that um, with how this Knicks team has played and how where did they finish, that's motivation, or not even so much motivation, but it's a target for the front office to go after making changes for whatever may need to be to get to the Eastern Conference, like, to go further for next year.
Oh, for sure. But I just got just I don't want to overstep your career. You said a star. We already have a star in Jalen Brunson. We just need that added piece or pieces to go along with the team. Because Jalen Brunson, he is the star. He is that 1A dude. So I just want that's in my estimation. I'm quite sure you'll agree too. But yeah, there's definitely some work, and there's always need for improvement because no team is perfect. Even if you could win a 80 game season, okay, that doesn't mean, which is, it's hard to do in this day and age because of injuries and so forth. But of course, there's definitely like some needs and roles that need to be filled. Like you said, addition, subtraction, where some guys are going to be leaving or for whatever reason. They're going to be getting rid of guys for various reasons, adding pieces, to the puzzle to make it, whole, I guess, complete. And there's quite a, a few things that they could do. But, I know for me, they definitely need, a shooting guard, someone, you know, to play alongside Brunson. We discussed that in our previous segment. Of course, we need, a center. We have some draft picks that are, in the mix. Do they keep those or do they, possibly trade them and, go for that veteran, some experience? So, they have a lot of work, to do in that off season. And, they've done, great this last past season. I don't see, they're not going to be complacent with what they have right now because they know that, if those pieces are put in place, where they can go. They know the potential and just we were there this close. So again, I mean, there's this work that needs to be done.
Yeah. I agree with that. I do think that um two things that yes, we already have a superstar, but I do think that this Knicks team, or any team, there's room for improvement. And I
For
think
sure.
especially with this Knicks team, because we saw a lot throughout the season, it was a repeated pattern of when Brunson was on the bench, the Knicks team wasn't able to hold their weight without him. And that's a concern because when you look at other really good teams, when the superstar goes to the bench, the other guys could still hold it down. And I think in any sport and any team, yeah, you need your number one player on that team, your star player, but that player should be able to catch a breather for a couple of minutes and not the remaining players lose a lead of 10 points, 12 points. That just can't happen. And I
Yeah.
think that also, I know one thing for me that I want to see the Knicks get stronger at is if you're playing under Tibbs, and I think this also points to Tibbs as well, the defense has to step up. I thought too many times this season we saw a lot of defensive collapses. And especially in the postseason, I wasn't fond of how this Knicks team was playing defense. But just even throughout the regular season, even when the Knicks were playing well, there was times where, you know, if we go, I probably could make a compilation video of how many times we were saying the Knicks need to get a lead and maintain the lead. And I think that was something that this Knicks team struggled with. And part of that was because there was the lack of defensive effort, or the Knicks getting too comfortable and then they're allowing teams to chip in or get into the game. And prime example, basketball, like you always say, it's a game of runs. The Indiana Pacers got comfortable last night. They're not the better team over Boston, but that's the prime example of why I'm trying to make, like, you can't be up by 25 and then you get lax defensively and then you allow the team to come into your lead and now you're going back and forth. So I just think if Tibbs is known as a defensive minded coach and he preaches defense, I think anybody who's on this team, if you really can't produce offensively, the least you can do is play defense. And I just would like to see this team step up defensively for next
Well,
season.
well, but you got to remember when everyone was healthy, the Knicks were one of the top rated defensive teams. But but because as the season wore on, the bench kept getting depleted, so the defense did drop. I mean, because when they had a bench, they were up in the echelon as far as defense because Tibbs is such a defensive minded coach that they were up there. So, we got to always remember, the injury bug just kept hitting them, and the bench, bench players was turning into starters, and so I mean, in the beginning of the season, the defense to me was there. Yeah, there was collapse up, yeah, but that goes, with any team. But can they get stronger? Of course. They could, there's always room, for improvement. And I think once those pieces get added, I think that defense, they will be up in the top, whether it's the fifth or sixth, because they were. That was their before they really formed that true identity, that was one part, maybe a quarter of their identity. But as the season wore on and guys knew their role, that's when the identity really clicked in and like they were locked in. So once those pieces get there, I mean they will get back up there, I believe.
I agree. I do think that they'll get there. I just think, I don't know, maybe my expectations are too high. Because I do hear where you're coming from, and it's like, yes, the guys that were, but see, I just still feel like the Knicks didn't have a bench. Like, I hear you're saying, and it's true. You're not telling me a story that the injuries occurred. So so what happened was the bench players had to come in, fulfill, and now they're becoming starters and they had to step up. And they held their own for how long they could. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think a big part of that was clearly a major part of that was Brunson carrying the team. Yes. Other guys contributed. Yes. I think for me, the same way I was looking forward to seeing what Randall was going to do in the postseason, that's my focal length for next season. Like as a whole, I want to see, okay, if this Knicks team could remain healthy, I'm looking at what y'all going to be doing defensively. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be very interesting this summer because we don't know what moves this front office is going to make.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they're already in talks of who they may want to swap and switch, or who, they're behind the scenes making calls to other agents and speaking to players, et cetera, looking at who's doing what. So just because the season hasn't really officially ended for the NBA entirely, it's already ended for many of the teams, and they're on the lookout for who they're gonna try to get get rid of, whatever the case may be. Um, I know there's three Knicks who possibly might not return for next two. One of those players who was mentioned was Mitchell Robinson, who resigned with the Knicks in 2022 as a free agent and signed through the 2025-2026 season. So technically, the Knicks don't have to make a decision about his future this summer. He started in this past season great. He was in the talks of Defensive Player of the Year before his ankle injury, which was in early December, and then he required surgery for that. He was out until the end of March, and he returned back at the end of the regular season. Mitch was very instrumental in the first round series against Philadelphia. He was able to disrupt Embiid. I thought he did a great job. He was excellent against Embiid compared to Isaiah Hartenstein, who just couldn't defensively guard Embiid. But I think that was speaking about Mitch. I think New York's top priority is re-signing Isaiah Hartenstein this offseason. He will be an unrestricted free agent this summer. And with that, he's going to draw a lot of teams who are interested in him. Um, but if Hartenstein doesn't stay, um, teams will be reaching out to the front office about maybe a Robinson trade, or I don't know. But I think, I don't know. I kind of feel like because of the deal that Mitch has with the Knicks, I don't see them letting him go. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. The other player is Alex Burke. We already know that he's not going to stay. I think we knew this from the rip when he even came to the Knicks. Um, a lot of people ridiculed Tom Thibodeau for not playing Alex Burke more during the regular season, but he was just not good during the regular season. He was 30% shooting from the three. He was averaging 6.5 points per game. Just nowhere near his numbers that he had when he was in Detroit. The difference is, though, is that I think what is going to help Burks sign to any other team was the fact that he showed up in the playoffs in the limited minutes that he did get playing
Hmm.
with the Knicks. With the injuries piling up, his number was called. He was averaging 14.8 points per game. He was at 42.9% shooting from the three. So he'll be an unrestricted free agent this summer, and he signed with Clutch Sports. So we already know how that's gonna work. But OG Ananobi has the player option. Isaiah Hartenstein is a free agent. Jalen Brunson extension eligible. So is Julius Randle for extension eligible. And then you have Precious Achua, who's a restricted free agent, and Burks is at the bottom of that list of restricted free agency. So I don't know. I think that the Knicks have to be careful about approaching the tax option and all of that, going over the tax cap when it comes to the moves that they make. And then the other guy is Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, Bojan was able to get some minutes. He didn't play many minutes, and then the second half of the season was way shorter than I'm sure the Knicks even expected. Um, he also got off to a rough start with the Knicks during the regular season, um, but he has one full season left on his current contract before he's set to be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. He has a partially guaranteed 19 million salary for 24-25 season, and that will become guaranteed on June 28th, which is part of the reason why the Knicks traded for him. I don't think the Knicks are going to get caught up in a Fournier situation when it comes to him. I think they learned a lesson when it comes to that. Um, but I don't know. I think the Knicks are trying to make a big move this off season.
For sure.
If the right player becomes available, I think that the Knicks will be aggressive and utilize their picks and who they want to get. And then I think the other guy who's on the list who to me shouldn't come back, and we mentioned him the other episode, and I really stand by this, Jericho Sims. I think because of the way the current roster is constructed, um, Sims is just he's a non-factor for this team. You know, when Mitch got hurt, he was able to go into the starting lineup for a little bit and replace um, and started with Hartenstein. Um, but when he got out there, Sims looked lost. And then didn't Sims hurt himself on like a jump ball? He tweaked his ankle on
Yeah,
like one of the
yeah,
games.
because he was out a few games during the I think the first round or something like that. But yeah, he had got hurt. But yeah,
Yeah,
we all know Sims is a non-factor.
but I think the Knicks just need to part ways with him. He's been with the Knicks for 3 seasons, and he hasn't really proven much of anything or shown any type of changes or improvement. And I don't see that happening as far as the Knicks going, okay, yeah, we'll keep him around. I could be wrong, but I just don't see what's the point of us having him. People will applaud Sims for making great screens in games. I don't see the need for us to keep Jericho Sims around. I think if you're gonna get somebody that's gonna be that third option on the bench as a big, we need somebody who's gonna go out there and produce and give us a little bit more than just going out there to set screens and run up and down the court. Um, and then Julius Randle surprisingly keeps coming up on lists. And I think it's because he's eligible to sign with an extension this summer. But the Knicks will be monitoring his situation, I guess, with his injury. I know he gets reevaluated again in September. Um, but if he doesn't sign with the Knicks will get calls from other teams who will be interested in Julius Randle. There's no doubt about that. Julius Randle came off an all-star season with this Knicks. Unfortunately, it got cut short because of the dislocated shoulder. Um, he opted to have surgery. He was trying to wait it out. I think he made the right decision by having the surgery. So this way, you're ready for next season and be able to play.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that the only flack for me that Randall gets is that his first two postseason appearances, they were, you know, I mean, this past season he wasn't able to play. The season before that, again, even before he got injured, I think Randall was exposed and really wasn't that great in the postseason.
Yeah,
Um, but I think that he gets applauded also for the fact that he gets applauded aside from the flack for choosing the Knicks in 2019 when KD and Kyrie didn't want to come here. So, I think that those are just some of the players to me that I think that this Knicks team may end up getting rid of and may not end up keeping.
See, I think they're gonna keep Mitch because he's still in the contract, and maybe let Hartenstein walk because, and they may try to get a backup center. They may try to Drummond, Valanciunas. Um, and now, as I mentioned before, they do have those two draft picks. Um, they may go with them or just trade it and move up for a veteran. So Mitch, I think, is definitely because they're so high on Mitch. And again, you gotta remember prior to his injury, he was in the running for practically defensive player of the year before his injury. So that's the upside with him. Yeah, he's injury prone, and I like him. I'm not a part of the fan club, but I do like what he do offensively and defensively. So I like Mitch. Yes, I like Hartenstein. If they could sign him, great, but that's going to be a money situation with him. So they may just decide to part ways with him and go another route. I would love to see them both back. So again, I think Mitch is going to be like their number one option, definitely for this year, because of those reasons. And Randall, I believe that they're going to bring him back. I would like to see them bring Randall back. Just with Randall and Brunson on the floor, he takes a lot of pressure off of Brunson. His physicality, being able to post up down low, playing down low, and he could create his own shot. I think that they will, possibly go that route. And they'll keep him unless there's a better player talent wise, not so much as offer wise, but if they could find a better player talent wise, they may just go that route. But me, I think that they're gonna keep Randall because he's voted an all-star. So you gotta look at those things that what they bring to the table and what they're able to do. Injuries that can happen with anybody. And I think that they see the potential where this team can go with a healthy team. Um, and so I think that again, if they find somebody better, talent wise, yeah. But to me, Randall do a Paul George, DeRozan, things like that, and their positions is different. So I think that they're gonna keep him. And OG, I would definitely love for them to sign him. And of course he's gonna test a free agent, but that's just it's a numbers game. Everybody, they got families to feed and take care of. So I think that they're gonna, see what is out there as far as what the other teams are fishing for, and definitely try to match that. And I would love to see OG come back because just if you can have those guys on the floor, limit his minutes, as far as limit to how many games he played for this the regular season. So you want to preserve, do a Jimmy Butler. You want to preserve, some of that for the playoffs because they will be going back to the playoffs. I'm planting that. I'm putting that out in the atmosphere in the universe. So I definitely believe that they will bring him back. It's going to make for definitely a better team when you get these guys. And now you got Josh Hart coming off the bench. Now, is he a true power forward? No, but he did. If he came behind Randall many a games, so he go back to the bench, and now he could come behind Randall and give Randall a breather. So now this is where our bench becomes stronger, and we can
But how
get
do
back.
you but how do you strength okay, so let's the Knicks bring back, you have Brunson coming back, you have Julius Randle coming back, you have OG
Mhm.
Anunoby coming back, you have Mitchell Robinson coming back. Isaiah Hartenstein is a question mark because we still don't know because of
Yeah.
the money. Now, I do believe strongly that the Knicks can make him happy and give him what he's looking for. They could come to a middle ground. Yes. Now you look at the bench, right? Because that's your pretty much your 4, 5 starters. Cool. You got your possible center situation sorted out. We'll say Hartenstein's coming back. You got Mitch. That's 6. Now you go to the bench with Mitch being part of the bench.
Deuce.
Or let me ask you this before I get to that. Does Tibbs running back starting Mitch, or does he start Hartenstein?
Wow, that's a good question. Hmm.
Because it's like, does Mitch, okay, he start Mitch, Mitch starts off
Does
strong like he did last
does he
year,
get it
or does
started
he,
roll back?
right? Or does he go back to Hartenstein and allow Hartenstein to start? This is presuming that the Knicks bring these
Hartenstein.
Hartenstein.
You know, he might. I mean, although Mitch said he's comfortable coming off the bench, but let's face it, in this league, everybody wants to start. Unfortunately, everybody can't. It's only a 5 minutes, but start and slide up. But he might go back with Mitch. That's hard. Then again, he probably won't because he wants to see Tibbs. He always says what the defense. Tibbs. He's like one of those type of coaches. But you know I, that's a toughie. I wish I had a better answer, but he may just go with if they able to get Hartenstein or Steen or however we pronounce it. I know I'm botching his name up and I do it all the time, but he may just try to. What is it?
Stein.
Hartenstein. Okay. He may just go with Hartenstein. I'm gonna say I Hart. How's that? And then see how Mitch do coming off the bench, and then maybe Mitch may get his starting role back.
Okay, so now you have your bench players. You have, but we'll say Mitchell Robinson. You have Deuce McBride, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and there's a question mark for that other 5th player because I'm not sure if the Knicks bring back Precious Achua. It's a possibility. And then Jericho Sims, no. And then Alex Burks is not going to be here. And then Bojan, I believe, with when it comes to Bojan, I don't think the Knicks are going to waive him to generate more cap space for Hartenstein or Anunoby. I think it's their decision is going to be mostly independent on what they decide to offer Hartenstein or Anunoby, right? So, what players or what type of players or to do the Knicks need to make this team, the second unit, stronger? Because okay, you have your healthy starting 5, but now when you go to the bench, something is missing there. There's a missing link there. Like if you look at that bench, and it's no knock on those guys, but that's not a strong enough bench. I think you need someone else there to give you something, some kind of. See, when you look at the starting 5 for me, I look at a Randall, a Brunson, a OG. These guys can get to the basket, they could score. When you look at the bench, I think for me immediately you need a point guard because I don't think Deuce, that's his role. I think Deuce is more of a catch and shoot guy. And I think if Deuce works on his game and then he's able to implement getting to the basket and scoring as well, he can be a nice threat. But I think you need somebody who's going to be able to actually dribble the ball, facilitate the ball on the second unit, on the bench unit. And then you need someone else who can give you scoring besides Deuce and Dante DiVincenzo. Because Josh Hart, that's not really his game. He's more of a cleanup guy. He's that energized guy. He's going to do those other little things. So who else do the Knicks need to put in place that can give you some kind of scoring that when Randall or OG or Brunson's on the bench, Tibbs shouldn't have to. Maybe at times, yes, he may keep one of them in with the second unit, but he should be able to put those guys on the bench for a couple of minutes comfortably, and the second unit could carry their load for however many minutes they're in the game.
Well, you definitely want to bring a like a to me that's where they need like a backup point guard, like someone that could come in. 'Cause like we said, Deuce, as much as he gave us, and he's only gonna get better, you know. But to me, I think a shooting guard would definitely help with that. And there's just a few guys that's out there. It's just a matter of what route they want to go as far as just like we mentioned, a D'Angelo Russell, Tyus Jones, somebody that could, come in and Brunson can get that much needed rest where now that bench can come in and keep that lead and maintain that lead. Because again, I beg to differ. Before the injuries, we had a pretty nice bench. But if you can put that piece and so for Brunson in his absence, like when he goes to the bench, that can definitely solidify the bench and make it stronger. Because again, I say we had a pretty decent bench uh pre-injury. Um, but again, that one piece, not that that's just one of many pieces. But if you could get you a solid like point guard that could come in behind Brunson, that can facilitate and keep that lead. So when now in the start, when he do come back in, again, that takes added pressure off of him. So I mean, and that bench, I like the bench,
So you
as
feel
far
like that would make the bench strong, just getting back
Josh Hart.
a backup point guard to add to the bench, and then that's a strong enough bench for the Knicks.
It was strong last season, yes. It was. We was up there as far as the defensive, rating and where they were at. To me, we was, I again because Tibbs is so defensive minded. If they could just get that piece, again, one of many pieces, somebody that a solid backup point guard. Give Brunson that rest because you got Hart. And you got to remember, Hart, he's not a starter. And even DiVincenzo, he's not a starter, but he maybe they keep him as in the backcourt, the shooting guard. But Deuce, yeah, that backup point guard, Mitch. If they go with Precious, do they keep Bogey? So things like that. Yeah, I believe so. That will help.
But I think the other thing that's missing is if the Knicks sustain an injury, okay, you have a backup point guard for Brunson. But I think one thing that was overlooked for this past season was that we didn't have a true backup for Randall's position. And then same thing with OG. And I think that that's something that they need to look at for next season because God forbid you have a guy who has to miss 10 games, 20 games. The Knicks were lucky because Hartenstein was able to stay healthy because if he wasn't, they would have been doomed. So you
Yeah.
had a backup position for Mitch. But what do you do? Now, granted, DiVincenzo did a great job initially when Randall first was out, and he was stepping in and providing that added scoring.
Hmm.
But I think the Knicks need players who they need someone who's a playmaker and could score, not someone who's going to be streaky. While I think that Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo did a great job starting, coming in the game. I mean, because they had no choice. You're right. They had no choice. There was a man down situation, and guys had to just step up, next man up, as Tibbs like to say, and start. But I don't think that I think that's another missing piece that this team needs. Like yes, you need for sure they need a backup point guard, and I really hope that the Knicks focus on getting someone to back up Brunson because having this rotation of like do sometimes if the pressures if teams are playing a full court defense, sometimes it has to be Josh, sometimes it has to be Dante. I understand it in that situation, but when you really look at who was the backup, it was Deuce McBride. And I don't really think Deuce is really an actual point guard. He can do it, but I don't I think we need someone else who can bring that ball up behind Brunson. And I think that we need someone who can be another option who can play either on the starting unit if they sub one guy out and then they bring somebody in, or somebody who can play with the second unit who can give you balanced scoring on a night in, night out basis for this team. For me personally, I think that that's the other piece that's missing. You need somebody who can get you points, whether they play more of a, I'm not even necessarily saying a post game, but they're more of a mid range player, somebody who could shoot the three, somebody who knows how to attack. I was watching the New York Liberty. They played Minnesota yesterday, and their offense reminded me so much of the Knicks, relying on the 3-point shot. And you live by the three, you die by the three, like you always say. I said, wow, look at this. It looks just like the Knicks. I said, they're relying on the three. It was paining me to watch it. I was like, and Minnesota was just taking the ball in. And it made me think of how we get frustrated with the Knicks. Like, why are you not doing what another team is doing to you? I digress. But
Yeah.
it's just, I would like to see this Knicks team be able to get players who can, like Randall. I shouldn't say players, but another player who, like Randall, who, like Brunson, can attack, can draw the defense on them, can draw a foul, or somebody who can naturally, because unfortunately we don't have the big positions. Our bigs don't draw defense towards them. The most defense is going to draw towards Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein as they playing Hacker, I Heart, Hacker Mitch. But we don't have that luxury of having somebody who can draw the defense towards them and then they can kick the ball out and there's someone open because the team is playing double team on that player. So I think that that's the other position that we need. I think, and again, I agree, it doesn't need to be a superstar because I think the way Randall Brunson was playing together, it was working. And I don't think that should just be disrupted. I just think that we need someone else who can come. God forbid we have somebody go down in the regular season. We need someone else who can come behind a Randall or come behind an OG who can give you that scoring, and it doesn't have pressure on Brunson to have to go off and do his
Yeah.
razzle dazzle and his tricks to try to give us points.
So aside from a point guard, you saying we need another
Shooting
like
guard
a shooting guard, then
or a power forward backup. Yeah,
backup.
because again,
Yeah.
if you look at a lot of the games, hell, we even went to one of the games and when the Knicks were playing Utah. And this we didn't have Randall at that point. And remember, the offense was so stagnant. Now it just so happened in that game, Dante DiVincenzo was shooting the ball well and he was shooting and being aggressive. But I think when you notice with Dante, he's a shooter, so he may have 1 or 2 games where he shoots lights out, and then the next 2 or 3 games he's off. And I understand players have an off night, but again, it's too many back to back for him where he's off. Deuce McBride does a great job where if he's off one game, he makes up for it the next game, right? But I think overall, when you look at the offense, there's plenty of times when you're really watching a Knick game, it's very stagnant and no one's doing anything. The ball is just moving from left to right. And then that's when you have to see Brunson have to finally take control and say, okay, well, let me do something to either put a point on the board for us or let me draw a foul, something like somebody's finally doing something. And sometimes, yes, you may see like Josh will try to take it in, but he gets the ball snuffed away from him. And sometimes it works.
Hmm.
Dante DiVincenzo may chuck up a three, Deuce may play. I think it's a combination of like the players and how they play because they are role players, but it's the way they play and that's not their game. And I had to come to conclusions with that that's not their game. But I also think
Not
the other part of it is Tibbs. And sometimes I think with the way we run the offense on this Knicks team, it's like the combination of both. There's the lack thereof, and you see two guys up top, two guys down low, and then you see Brunson at the top, and there's really no movement. The ball again, it may go from left to right. Maybe someone may get it in the corner, and at times it works. Go ahead.
But wasn't are you referring to after the injury, Randall injury? Or are you talking about pre, Randall injury? Because you know when they played, when Randall was on the ball, yeah, you know, it made Brunson's shot, again, it helped freed him up. So, you know, I I don't know if you're referring to the injury prone, that's the Knicks, or was this before Randall?
I'm talking
Before.
about a combination of both because before, yes, Brunson was able to get open, but what I'm saying is, and granted, we didn't have a lot of OG playing, but it was a lot of um, offensively, the weight was carried on both Randall and Brunson. Do I think, yes, there was movement when they found their identity? The Knicks were moving the ball well, guys were moving out the ball, yes. But I don't know why did we also steer away from that? Because even if you had to come from the bench and you had to be next man up, I don't know why we steered away from that. So that's why I say part of it, I think, is Tibbs. Like, why would you steer away from just because guys who weren't starting have to come in and come off the bench and now they have to be starters? Why would you steer away from what was working? But I think that before the injuries happened, offensively, a lot of the weight was on Randall and Brunson to produce and to make something happen.
But that's why they made those changes too. You got to look at,
This is
they
true.
got rid of a lot of those developmental plays and they bought OG. So when he came, that created opened up a lot of floor space. And so you got to like go in stages, where they were at, pre, injury, pre OG. And then once he came along, it created, it opened up a lot. He can create his own shot. Randall can, you know, Brunson can. So and then now we go dealing with injuries. Things change because now guys are being thrown into starter positions that these are not their normal roles. So now this is why they gotta the front office need to go to work and make those necessary changes. So when they do, and if they do have these collapse, now we got these pieces in place that can this train could still move.
Hmm.
So these are stages that they went through.
Yeah.
um and the front office, this is what they're working on. A lot of people's minds are going to be blown, and there's going to be shock factors because we don't know. So
Right.
when those changes come, you know a lot of people's not going to agree with it, and there's going to be a lot that will agree with it. But for the most part, they're on the right track. They know, and this is so. What I'm saying, they did the OG. They brought him. Um, now we gotta go back to work in the off season. So that's how I look at it. You
Right.
know, um, with the phases that they went through.
Salute Edward Brown. He said you have Brunson, Dante, OG, Randall, and I Heart or Mitch. That's correct. I think to answer your question about Dante DiVincenzo, that's where the question lies. What are the Knicks going to do with Dante replacing him in the starting lineup? I'm not saying he's not a starter, but what I'm saying is Dante DiVincenzo is streaky. And I think he's better off, depending on if the Knicks can find somebody whose game is a bit better and they're a stronger, higher percentage shooter. Yeah, I would start that person possibly over Dante. That's what I'm saying.
what that's what I said. If you could find a player talent wise, yeah. But if it's offer wise, just otherwise than that, I'm fine with DiVincenzo staying in that starting role, and now you get a shooting guard to come behind him. So again,
Agreed.
this would just again fortify the bench and just make it stronger. I mean, I have no problem with him starting, you know, and they could come, get a player under him, So I don't know. I just see that.
Yeah, and to be honest, like in our early podcasts, I had already predicted Dante DiVincenzo was going to take the starting lineup because Grimes just wasn't it. And I said, I believe Dante DiVincenzo is going to take the starting spot from Grimes
Oh, for
just by
sure.
the way he was playing. When he was getting in, he looked way more active. He looked ready. He was ready to, catch the ball, shoot defensively. He was locked in. Grimes was a lot better defensively, but offensively, his shots weren't knocking down and he was getting wide open looks. And the thing is that people used to like go crazy and not just our chat, but other Knicks content creators chats about defending Grimes. But I remember I said to you on one of the episodes, I said, it's funny how Deuce comes in, he's getting the burn, he signed the Deuce is knocking down shots, wide open shots. I'm not sure why when Grimes had those opportunities, he wasn't able to knock them down. So it was Grimes. That just showed he was the common denominator. It was him. It wasn't Tibbs. It wasn't players not trusting him passing the ball. It was Tibbs. It was Grimes. Salute Corey Lee. He said, "Look, I'm not a big Deuce fan, but I don't think we need to be so quick to throw him away. Who's throwing him away? Because I'm not throwing Deuce away. I feel Deuce is going to continue to get better. What I think Deuce should do is I think that he should work on his game this off season. I think that Deuce should add a little bit more under his belt than just catching a ball and shooting. Um, because I don't want him to get known as a player who all he does is just catches and shoots. I would like to see Deuce be able to put the ball on the floor, utilize his speed that he has, and be able to drive to the basket and get an easy bucket. You look at players, prime example in the playoffs. Maxi's a small player, but he's able to get to that basket. He figures out a way to get to the basket. TJ McConnell, he's another one. He's able to get to the basket. And I think if Deuce can add that along with his shooting, he's gonna be a hell of a player. But he's still growing. I'm not throwing him away. I think Deuce is a great fit for this Knicks team. I like the way that he stays hungry, he stays ready, he watches the game. I love that about him. But I don't think that anybody here is throwing him away. I'm just saying that Deuce needs to work on his game this offseason. And there's room for improvement for anyone. And he's still new in this league. So, yeah, I'm sure he is going to be working on his game. But no one's throwing him away.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Deuce is only gonna get better.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A defensive point guard who, who could shoot the three would complete this team. Yeah. Salute old head. He said Mikal Bridges would start at the two over Dante. Exactly. Because there's a difference in their games. We know with Mikal Bridges, you ain't gonna get that streakiness.
What? Yeah. See that's why I said if you can find a player, talent wise, yeah, I'm cool with
Who's
Dante.
better than Dante? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
going to the bench. But now if you don't, now you find somebody that could come in after him. But like if you get a McHale, of course he's going to the bench.
Right.
Because and let's face it, he came off the bench anyway. So guys got to be like, you was thrust into this role for for circumstances that they didn't even foresee. So you know, if that's your original role coming into this team, if you find plays that can, match that and exceed that, then guess what? You go back to your original role, which was the bench. So, and I'm cool with if we could get McCall. Sheesh.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't think the Nets are looking to let him go. It's just like how people was bringing up the whole Embiid and Giannis that could be on the market, but Philly is building around Embiid and Maxey, and and you always say money talks, so you can't necessarily bridge those things in stone. But Milwaukee, I highly doubt they're gonna get rid of Giannis. Like, yeah, I brought Dame over there. That didn't really prove to work. But who knows? Maybe next season it could be a different story. Maybe they will find their continuity together and be able to be a good team, a good playing team together. So I don't know. I think the point is that the Knicks will have opportunities to upgrade the roster via trades this season. And I think that this Knicks front office is very much open to making a big move. And I think that they do know that, and they acknowledge that they do need to make another significant move to contend for a title. Because where this team is right now, I think that it could use a little small tweak or two. No one's saying that we can't run it back, but I don't think you run it back fully with who we have. I think you do need to make an addition
Oh, for
or
sure.
two to this team and possibly, maybe get rid of, one or two guys who, for whatever reasoning, money wise, or the players want to play elsewhere. We also want players who wants to be here and play on this next team. And I think the key things are for sure that backup point guard position, and we need another like solid shooter on this team who can. And I also think that for the point guard, you and I agreed on this. We don't need somebody who's just gonna bring the ball up. If you're gonna get somebody like that, then just have Deuce bring the ball up. We need somebody who could bring the ball up, make good decisions, good passes, and someone who could score. Because if you're gonna bring somebody who just knows how to get the ball up well and without getting it stolen, then you defeated the purpose. Because now Jalen Brunson got to get ready to get up off that bench to come back in. We need somebody who could bring the ball up, who has good basketball IQ, good court vision, who makes smart timing and passes. Somebody who could, they don't need to be exactly on the level of Jalen Brunson, who's going to post bigger players up, that's bigger than them. I'm not asking for that. But what I'm saying is, are you in the game just to facilitate the ball and pass it? Or if we need a bucket and you may be open, are you going to look to take the shot and shoot or try to drive to the basket? You know what I mean? So I think that we need somebody who is a solid point guard. I don't want somebody who's just going to bring the ball up. If you're going to, Nick's going to, and I don't think the front office is going to do that, but I'm just saying if like that's the case, then you might as well just have Deuce keep bringing the ball up. And it's no shade to Deuce. It's no knock on what Deuce is doing. But what I'm saying is, I think Deuce would be more successful if he's not bringing up the ball.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
now, and unfortunately, I don't know why Tibbs doesn't run a lot of players where he has them coming off like a curl or a double screen and they can catch the ball, shoot. But Deuce would be better where he's able to not have the ball. He can get open, boot, catch the ball, shoot, or make his move, however that may be. I think Deuce will be a lot more successful in that, right? But when he has to bring up the ball, I think Deuce is so worried about, okay, I'm in point guard mode. You know what I mean? I got to make sure I'm passing. I'm setting a screen for this person, that person. So I just think that we need a solid, strong point guard who can not just bring up the ball, but who can also score, but also has good decision making. Like, somebody who's going to be sloppy, and we don't have time for that. We don't. Salute Robert Woodard. He said Deuce low key turned into Steve Francis. Wow. Haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Steve Francis too. I like his game. Yeah, I mean, listen, Deuce has the capabilities. This guy is gonna grow. Deuce is going to continue to get better. You know, when we were looking for that with Grimes, some people were looking for that with Jericho Sims. Deuce is the one who actually have shown improvement, and I think he's a workhorse, like Diva likes to say. Deuce is gonna be in that gym this summer working on his game. So I for sure he can be to the caliber of a player like Steve Francis. Why not? You know, I mean, I just truly think Deuce is just gonna continue to get better.
Just looking at some point guards. Yeah, I believe you for sure.
AP Salute said Bridges could be traded to Houston out of spite. But why would
Mm.
he be traded to Houston? Like what trade what players will be involved in that trade that he would go to Houston? I'm
Well, I
curious.
guess he's saying just so the Knicks don't get him.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Because Brooklyn, they just haven't been good. They haven't been good for a while, and I that's a great point. The fact that they're not happy that their neighboring team is doing really well, and the Knicks have gone far. They're winning a lot of games. Brooklyn, what they finished the season in ninth or 10th?
I don't think so. They were. Yeah,
Cole has said upgrade at the two, have a better point guard off the bench, and maybe a 6'8", 6'10" shooter with range. Yeah, that's something that Diva has mentioned for a while now. The Knicks don't have enough tall guys. We look very small on the court, especially when you don't have a Hartenstein or Mitch on the floor. The Knicks look very short. And I do think that the Knicks need to try to get a taller shooter for sure with some range.
yeah. We lack size, and we got heart and plenty of it. But sometimes that just don't cut it. You need size as well. I mean,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think for sure with range, we need a shooter with range, of course, and a shooter who doesn't just settle for shots. I'm looking for somebody who could put the ball on the floor and take it to the basket, and a solid point guard off the bench for sure who can actually score the ball. Salute TJ Honeyblue.
salute.
Corey Lee said we need secondary ball handler with some size to help Brunson bring up the ball for ball pressure reasons. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to. If you could find somebody, like I said, I love DiVincenzo's game, but again, he's not a true starter. He's a bench guy, and he did well for us. But if you can find somebody, a player talent wise, a point guard that will, help with Brunson, excuse me, a shooting guard. I say go for it. Like I said, I love, it's no shade to DiVincenzo, but if you could, like he said, a ball handle with some size, again, to help alleviate, that pressure. So where Brunson's not bringing up the ball every possession or just about every possession, you
Right.
know. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I think needs to be the key emphasis for the Knicks. Get a secondary ball handler with some height on them, somebody who could pass the ball, somebody who makes smart decisions, somebody who could shoot as a backup point guard, somebody
or
who not gonna be sloppy, somebody who can facilitate the ball properly to your Dante DiVincenzo's to, other Deuce McBride who's on the floor, like somebody who's gonna just make the right decisions and somebody with some speed, um, but who can also score. Like we don't just need somebody who could just bring the ball up, whether they under pressure or not, but somebody who can actually score for us at the same time. So the Knicks, um, the Knicks have some work to do for sure. The front office. I think the goal is definitely to move to the next level. Now, do you think there's this pressure on the Knicks to or not pressure, but the Knicks need to make the Eastern Conference Finals next season, being that they've already proven they can go to the second round.
For sure. Of course it is. I mean, like I said, pre-injury, we was on the way. And then
Yeah,
that injury bug just, hypothetically, if that would have happened to, I'm just saying, like Boston, but they were healthy for the most. Yeah, like although Portland's just not playing now, but they still have a healthy squad. Look at the Pacers; they're healthy, but now what? They're 3-0 down to Boston. So they are healthy, but if the Knicks were healthy, the Knicks would be
in this
contending with
spot, yeah,
Boston right now. So
agreed.
yeah, the goal is, and that's the front office goal. That's how every player's goal is to make it to that Eastern Conference. You get this far and you fall short. You know, that's a goal. And like I said, I think in our first one, I said I'm not, um, like I was more like I guess hurt because they didn't make it and like they were so close, but
Yeah,
at the same time, proud as all heck, with this team. So that is a goal, and that's why I think when it's time for them signings, there's gonna be a lot of shock value when we do.
yeah,
Because I was shocked. Remember when they got when they traded RJ? Yo, I called you on the phone.
yeah. I
I said,
remember.
"Yo, the Knicks just traded RJ. They got OG." So that was nobody saw that coming. And if anybody said they did, then you must got an inside scoop with the Knicks organization in the front office. But that's the goal is to get better for each season, each trade. They're not going backwards. It's full onward from here. So that's how I see things.
Yeah,
And
I think for sure there's a somewhat of a pressure and an emphasis that the Knicks have to go to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. For sure, with healthy, I think this Knicks will be able to make it. I think the other thing to look out for is how is the East going to do as a whole next year. This year, the East wasn't that strong. The only team that was really two teams that was strong was Boston and us, the Knicks. A lot of other teams weren't that strong because if you looked at the standings from 2 to 7, at times 8, but 2 to 7, it was every team was within a game or two of each other to move up in the standing. So
yeah,
that's not a strong conference if teams are within one or two, of each other. It's one thing, yeah, it's competitive, but I just think the East wasn't that strong. But I think the Knicks are going to be better for next season. Yes, they have to be better because you also, not even just the fact that the Knicks need to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals because the goal is to get closer and closer to get in the championship. And it takes teams time. Teams that won championships, it takes them time before they get to that championship round and get to that level, right? But I think it's also the fact that you have to wonder how is the Eastern Conference going to be next season? Is it going to be a tougher conference? I think that the Knicks as a whole, as a team, have to be prepared to like really run, gun, be physical as they were, and also win a decent amount of games in a regular season, to be able to get a nice seeding placement in the playoffs, because you damn sure don't want to play in. And I think with that right two pieces, the Knicks can go there with good health, with everyone else on the team. With those two pieces needed in place, I think that this Knicks team will be able to get past round one, round two, and then round three will be that true Eastern Conference Finals will be that true test. But I do think that the Knicks are gonna need a solid scorer behind Brunson and Randall, whether he's coming off the bench or starting, who can really contribute and give these guys a lift where you can get 15 points, 20 points, you know what I mean, a night from this person. And then you have the other role players who can do the other little things. And it just comes together. like glue, and it's just making a successful system, and it's the Knicks are having a successful run throughout the season, and I think that that's part of what's missing. Salute Parish Duggar. He said we got to get Donovan, Cat, or Paul George to advance us. You got to get that third All NBA guy here with Randall and Brunson. Yeah, I don't know about, like I was saying earlier with Giannis and Embiid. I think with a lot of teams minus Paul George, I don't think these teams are trying to give up these players because Cat, unless the money really talks from another team, I don't see Minnesota giving him up. Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland doesn't want to let him go because I know I was telling you before, I don't know if this was off the show, but Garland was saying that he's not necessarily happy on Cleveland. So maybe that gives Cleveland more motivation to keep Donovan because maybe they go, well, now we need to get somebody in to play alongside with him. Garland was saying because they've been falling short in the playoffs. With the way Minnesota's playing, I don't see them giving up Cat. I
Yeah,
just don't. And then with Paul with his contract, it's possible the Clippers let him go, but I don't see it. And I think this is what you was trying to say before we went on. Like the draft is a little dry as far as who could you get from other teams, but I think it's boils down to the money talk. So if the contract is right, a player will go. But a lot of these teams are players that, within the Knicks community we've been discussing, I don't see a lot of these teams letting these players go. I could be wrong, but I just don't see a lot of players just easily like where they obtainable like that.
hmm
Yes, with the right dollar amount, of course anything's possible. But, you know, Cleveland just let go of JB Bickerstaff, whatever his name is. So now they looking to I thought one of the assistant coaches from the Knicks was in the running also for being the head coach of Cleveland. I thought I read that. But yeah, Cleveland is trying to like, they're trying to figure out a way to get past the first round. And I don't think they're gonna let go of Donovan. Donovan wants to play oh so badly in New York, and I don't think he wants to play in Brooklyn. He wants to play on the Knicks, but I don't know.
Yeah, same here. I believe he definitely wants to, come here. But you like you said, you gotta remember when players, when teams, like you said, but money talks. But with Paul George, that's ideal. But again, salary wise, I think he's like in the upper 40s or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
we could get him great.
Murray from Atlanta would be ideal. What's the deal with Murray? Because is Atlanta's like another team. They're trying to like rebuild because they just that didn't work out. That was another team where they brought Murray to play with Trey, and that didn't work out in Atlanta.
And plus, the Hawks, they got the number one pick this year, right? Um,
I thought it was them. They outbeat the Spurs, right?
Yeah, and I think quite frankly, they're willing to go with Murray and willing to part with Trey. I think they probably give up
Hmm.
Trey before they give up Murray.
Wow.
Yeah. hmm
Why do you think that is? Because what they saw from Murray versus Trey's tenure being there with the
Yeah.
Hawks and just haven't really brought them anywhere except for that
Yeah.
one stint that they had.
Yeah, it hasn't panned out for the most part. So, I guess they looking to go a different route, and that route is, more so parting with him. Because his name has been in the talks. As far as, being traded to other teams. Yeah, he said he wants to stay with Atlanta, but what you want and what the team want is totally different.
Hmm.
And so like I said, they got that draft pick. And that, I guess now their excitement, went up with them as far as just, how they, gonna rebuild and who they keep in and who they, who they don't, having a true desire to keep. And he hasn't really, brought them, anywhere thus far, So I guess they looking to possibly part ways with him,
Yeah,
like move on from him.
yeah. I think yeah, Murray would be a good addition, but I don't
Oh
know.
man.
I don't know if the Knicks are able to capitalize and get him. TJ Honeyblue said, we just need to focus on realistic targets that won't handicap us for the next few years. I wholeheartedly agree. I think this front office has done a good job not getting players. I think the last player we had that did that to us was Fournier. But prior to, and yeah, the Knicks so far with Leon Rose here, the front office hasn't really brought players here who are either injury prone or been total bust, or players that they haven't been overplaying players and then the players haven't been performing. So I think this front office has done a good job bringing in players here on us at a coupon sale price of a contract, and we've been getting guys that are performing for us on the floor. So I agree with you though, 100%. We don't need a player here who's going to handicap us, and now we're stuck with this huge payout of a contract. We're paying someone. The guy is handicapped and on the bench all the time and injury prone. I mean, for the most part, this team has done a good job, and even kudos for like the fact that like Mitch had surgery, was able to come back. OG had surgery, was able to come back and play. So like we haven't had guys who, and I think it's because they see the kind of system that Tibbs run. You're not going
Yeah,
to sit on the bench here. We're not going to do that. We're not, this is not, and that's why we were saying before how the media, they put this whole narrative on Tibbs overplays his guys. That's just the kind of coach he is. And I think also you're in a professional league, whether it's basketball or another sport. An organization is paying you millions of dollars to go out there and perform and play. Why the hell are you sitting on the bench and you don't have a major injury? If you're okay to play and medical staff says you're okay to play, get out there and play.
yeah.
If you don't want to play, then go to the G League or don't play basketball at all.
And you got to remember the Knicks didn't do that load management. That's probably why guys, they didn't pick and choose, or I'm not playing, or my knee. Those guys, they played every chance they got.
Right.
Didn't make excuses.
Edward Brown said, I don't think Dante has reached his ceiling. I don't think he has either. And you know what? Dante may come back next season and his shot may be even better.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that this is one of the things that I don't really like with the way Tibbs run the offense. When you have a great shooter like a Dante DiVincenzo, someone who can knock down a shot like Deuce. I used to even say this when we had Grimes. I wasn't really fond of the way Tibbs runs the defense when you have good shooters like that. Like somehow, even if you looked in like the playoffs, second round in particular, Dante wasn't able to get open much because they had him on lock. Yeah, you could have good defense, but I believe in better offense. But at the same time, as a coach, I think you have to run your offense where when you know you have solid shooters like that, where these guys can come off a screen, a double screen, where you set up plays where they can be open, where the ball movement is there, where there's someone open in the corner and that's your key shooter or at the top of the key. And this way they can knock down those solid, easy buckets for you, when you need them. Just because Dante's not really the type of player where he can create that spacing from him. He doesn't do it as much. He probably can, but he doesn't do it much when he's on the floor where he can create space for himself and then he can throw off the shot that he wants.
hmm
Right. So he's more of a catch and shoot type of guy. But no, I don't think that Dante has reached his ceiling. I think he has more in the tank, more to give. I think that he's going to continue to work on his shot this off season and he'll come back better.
No, for sure, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
I think A Rod will trade Carl Anthony Towns. And do you would like to see him on the Knicks? AP. Because if Carl Anthony Towns comes to the Knicks, then that means you're not having.
Randall, right?
I was gonna say Randall and someone else. No
Oh,
one
it
in
would
particular,
definitely
but
Randall.
yeah, like two
Yeah.
players.
Oh, for sure. Definitely Randall and somebody else. Yeah. That means Randall, you trading Randall, and if they may possibly want, Mitch or somebody like that, and a Deuce. You gotta now you got to take a fact in for who?
Right. Salute Just Knicks. Robert Woodard. So he's 36 years old, but what do y'all think about Patty Mills as a backup to Brunson? I think he would be a good option. He has
Yeah,
veteran experience he could bring, playoff experience he could bring, championship experience he could bring, leadership experience he could bring to this Knicks team. And I think that's another thing that this team needs. Like, I remember at one point people was saying that about Taj Gibson, but mm-mm. No, like that's not the type of veteran I'm talking about that I want to see on this next team. I want somebody who's still active. Like,
yeah.
y'all, I don't know. Maybe if Taj was like Udonis Haslem when he was on the Miami Heat, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know. That's a little different, but I feel like
yeah, for
Taj
sure.
just wasn't the player I was looking for as the veteran leadership, the motivator, the guy who's ripping into guys who's like, yo, we're no. But Patty Mills, yes, absolutely. I would totally see. I think he would be a good fit as a backup, and he's somebody who can shoot the ball, bring the ball up. The basketball IQ is there. Absolutely, that would be another good. Knicks. The front office has their binoculars on. They're looking. They're scouting. They're looking at who they can get. A Negro one salutes that OG and Dante can get you 30, 35 nightly between them. I don't know about nightly. And here's the thing why I'm saying that. I'm not saying it because of them in particular. I think it's the way the offense is played, in particular with the Knicks. And then when you have players like Randall and Brunson who need the ball in their hands and are scorers, I think either of the two on a given night can give you that. Yes. But I think going back to what I was saying, I'm not fond of the way sometimes Tibbs runs the offense when you have guys like, in particular, Dante, who's a shooter, can get you more points, but it's the way we run our offense. And OG is different because OG, one thing I really, really love about OG Ananobi, he's not afraid to take the ball to the hoop. OG will take that ball to the basket and he's going to figure out a way to score. So we've seen that OG can produce and give you 25, 30 points a night. But nightly, Dante was streaky. He was a little
Yeah,
streaky.
but I not hear what he's saying because together they can give you those points because you got to remember if Dante's out on that perimeter, Brunson, if he feels that paint is clogged in, although Brunson's going to challenge you, but
Right.
for some old reason he could kick it out to either one of them.
This is true.
So I mean, I believe that they can.
Yeah. I also think a lot of Knicks play bigger than their listed height. Precious. Yeah, we did. We covered that in our last um, episode, or either part one, where I mentioned how, although the Knicks lineup is small, a lot of our players do play bigger and taller than their listed height. Um, and I think that's a great thing. You seeing Precious Achua blocking shots and showing his defensive prowess, that what he can do on the floor. And Dante DiVincenzo with looking like he got springs like Josh Hart under his feet, and he's jumping up against the tallest player on the opposing team and blocking shots. I mean, I applaud that. Deuce McBride and challenging other guys and playing tremendous defense. And, you know, I still think though that the Knicks lack height. in size. And I think that if we can get a taller wing player who can shoot, I think that will help this team out. I think so. Jalen Tyson and Deron Holmes too.
Those must be some draft picks.
Yeah.
Draft ones that's coming out.
Just Knicks also said Johnny Bryant. The luxury taxes will be high for them. Possibly. It depends who they take. The Eastern Conference was just young and inexperienced. Yeah. Spider's a piece next to Brunson than Dante. Well, Dante would have to come off the bench if you got Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell's not going to want to come off the bench.
Well, he's a bench player anyway, so it's not like yeah somebody he might have started when he was in Milwaukee, but his true role is coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets relegated to the bench, and that'll be a great addition, coming off the bench.
A Negro said, if you get Booker, you improve at the two, but deplete your bench because Dante goes. I don't know how I feel about Booker coming as a possible, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know.
I mean, I like him. Again, we're all here to get to be a stronger team. Um, but again, like you said, with Tibbs' style of play, is he a Tibbs player? You know, and I like him.
What would you
Well,
send Minnesota? See, honestly, I wouldn't want to send Randall away if you got Carl Anthony Towns. I think that would be dumb. I think you need to keep Randall. I would say maybe don't sign Hartenstein or Mitch, one of the two. And maybe you got to give up somebody off the bench. I don't know. But I don't
yeah,
think you give Randall away. I don't think that would work. I think you
yeah,
send Randall because Carl Anthony Towns is he's a versatile five. He could shoot the three. He could rebound. He could, give you in the paint points. But I think if the Knicks hypothetically were to bring him here, but then you trade Randall, I I don't think that's a smart move.
and Red could hit the three just like Cat can. I mean, like I said, if talent for talent, me personally, I like Randall, and I think, you know, he's this season coming up. I think he's gonna, definitely be an asset. This gives him time to definitely work on his game. He got that attitude in check. So, I mean, and if you're giving up Randall and like Mitch and the Deuce, and now yeah, I'm not sold. I'd rather you just ride with Randall.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, Hart improves. Something I absolutely want to see next year. Improve team free throws and 3-point defense. Yeah, the Knicks definitely have to work on their free throws as a team. They have to.
And Hard definitely will improve because you got to remember he's not a starter. So if he comes up that bench and he could be that spark, then I'm here for it. And when he goes back to his regular role, coming off the bench, even behind Randall, you're gonna see like the version that the reason why they signed him, not because what he did in the absence of Randall, but just coming off the bench and being that spark and giving you like whether it's 12 points and still rebound. And he'll
But
definitely
I think also it's the other little things that you and I were discussing too, like with Hart. Like initially last season, he was too fast for his own self.
oh
So
yeah.
Josh would drive and miss a wide open layup because he's going too fast. He don't know how to slow down.
Yeah, that
He got
killed.
a little better with that this past season, but I also think sometimes with Josh Hart, and he's not the only one guilty of it, but because we're talking about him right now, there was sometimes like the little like the chippy turnovers he would do.
Oh
The
yeah,
ball
yeah.
bouncing off his knee, the ball bouncing off his foot, and then he's looking at the ref, and I'm like, Josh, it was you. Like, I'm on your team, I'm on your side, but it was you, and it's just like, just like little things like that. Like, I think those are things that he has to tighten up on and improve, and knocking down the free throws because he also was another one who was missing, two free
But
throws at a time. And I think that, yeah, maybe with him going back to his role that he was playing, he's not playing as many minutes. He can do those things.
exactly.
But I just hope that I do see a click and that he's not, you know,
And I think we will once he go back to his regular role, because that's a lot of pressure. You being asked to play 44 minutes, 46, that's a lot. And once he gets settled back in, um, we're gonna see a better version of Josh. He possibly will have less turnover because what? Guess what? He's playing less minutes.
mhm.
So hit the, he there probably won't be as much pressure to having that need to feel to shoot the three. So he'll shoot the three when he's more confident and when he's open because teams are like this they even like they didn't even respect his 3-point shot when he was hitting it and I also remember I told you about this thing with him about when prior he had that wrist injury, and he said when he was shooting, he felt his wrist click back and back in, and he was like, "Oh shoot, I could shoot." So he could get that wrist healed. We're gonna see definitely a better version with less turnovers of Josh.
I think also I just don't want to see him being as timid. Like when he's wide open, take the shot or
Oh
drive,
yeah,
do something. Sometimes Josh, he like passes up opportunities, and I think that's part of the reason, especially with his shot, teams don't respect him because while he can make it, he's like very indecisive sometimes as far as does he want to take the shot or he just settle for passing it back. And I hope that's something that he is able to gain that confidence in the off season by working on his three and his shots and doing things of that such. Dante hit 12 threes in a game and someone to return him to the bench. But I think what you have to realize, Edward, is that if the Knicks acquires someone whose um, talent level, shooting level is better than Dante's, maybe someone who's a bit taller with better efficiency, or someone who proves that they're better, he may be starting. And then maybe Tibbs may notice there's somebody else who maybe they acquired in the offseason that's better. They may take his spot. Maybe
yeah.
in training camp, Tibbs may see somebody else shining real bright and they just may take his spot. It doesn't matter how many threes. He could have hit 25 threes in a game. But the thing is that I think what any team is mainly looking for is consistency. It's okay, a player is going to have a bad night. There's going to be nights throughout a season where they're going to be off. It's not going to be their night. But I think that if the Knicks find someone who is better, a player who's better than Dante, who's more consistent, then yes, he's going to return to the bench. I think he's okay now starting, yes. But if you find somebody who's better, who's more efficient, who's more consistent, listen, it doesn't. I think the goal for this team also, and every guy has to be locked in, is that I just need to play my role for the betterment of this team. And the
Exactly.
goal here for us is to not just get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but we're trying to get a championship here on this team. So that means I need to play my role, do my job when I'm out there in whatever capacity that may be to help this team win on a nightly basis, to keep getting better, to keep growing. So it doesn't, my thing is like, yes, you start, whoop de darn do. But what matters is when your name is called, whether you're starting or not, what you do when you're out on that floor. We know Dante could score, he could shoot, yes. But if Tibbs finds somebody, just like how Dante stole Grimes' spot, it's about who's performing. And if Tibbs sees somebody else is giving him a little bit more of what he needs, he's going to rock with whoever that may be.
Exactly.
It's no knock on Dante. Nobody's saying he can't continue to start. Sure, great. You're starting. But I think the end goal and every player on this Knicks team starting for next season has to be locked in that we have to get past the second round. We got to have a successful regular season, but we also have to get past the second round. And if this Knicks team is healthy, they're more than capable. They're well more capable of doing that. But I think players have to be locked in on as don't get so caught up on if I'm starting, if I'm coming off the bench. Just do what you have to do when you come out on the floor so we can win, so we can get to the next level. That's what should be more important, not about who's starting, who's not, who's coming off the bench. It doesn't freaking matter. You're all getting paid. Just go out there and perform on a nightly basis and stay consistent. We don't need streakiness. That's why they got rid of Quickly. That's why they got rid of RJ, the inconsistencies. So I think as a whole, players got to just get caught up in the rapture of let's trying to win every night.
Yeah. Put your egos to the side.
Yeah. Markel Fultz from Orlando is also a UFA and could possibly be Jalen's backup. I don't know how I feel about him. Like I watch enough of his games playing. I don't know. I gotta think about that some more. You like
Yeah.
Markel Fultz or
I mean, I do, but again, there's a lot of other guys out there too. You got D'Angelo Russell, Tyus Jones. You know, there's other guys out there. So yeah, not sure. How go. With his game.
Parrish says sign and trade iHeart, Deuce, and Bogey and first round picks for Carl Anthony Towns. Gotta keep Randall. Wow. You want to get rid of so you would have Randall, Brunson, Carl Anthony Towns, Mitch as the backup, Dante DiVincenzo, Precious Achua, Josh Hart. Hmm. I mean, it would boil down to that. Not particularly these players, but the Knicks would have to give up a few players if they acquired Carl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, more than some Deuce Bogey. Well, it depends. I mean, first round picks. And that's an option because you got to remember they also have a lot of picks too.
Right.
So,
Salute Joe Curry. So keep Randall. I would maybe trade Ananobi for Bridges though.
hmm.
Damn, too bad you can't have both of them. That's a good one though, Ananobi for Bridges, but
Yeah.
shoot, too bad we can't have both. That would make them even. I definitely would keep Randall. But see, the thing is, Mikael Bridges is healthy. We knock on wood, but he stays healthy.
Yeah.
OG, you have the risk of him missing some games.
Yeah. And yeah, because and play him limited games so he could stay healthy down the stretch. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think And I think the Knicks know that about OG Anunoby, and they will
Yeah,
probably put that in his contract about his injury clause in there. But, with OG, you would have to hope he can give you at least 60 games in a regular season and be ready
yeah.
and healthy for the playoffs. Whereas Mikal Bridges, this guy, he stays healthy and he can give you a lot more consistency as far as games played, plus be ready for the postseason. So I don't know. I honestly like TJ McConnell. Is he going to be available this offseason?
Not that I know of. Yeah, he's a pest, but the Knicks need this. That's it. The Knicks need a pest, and they don't have one.
Don't. They don't.
They
Josh
don't.
Hart is more of a cleanup guy. He's not a pest.
Yeah,
He's not a pest. We need a pest offensively and defensively, but especially
yeah.
offensively, because TJ is not afraid to go after it. He's like relentless. He's quick. He's super quick. His defense is A1. He's aggressive. He can shoot the mid range. He can drive. He finishes on the drives. Those are the kind of players that you know we need. I don't know about Spider. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I don't know if Cleveland's going to want to part ways with him.
Yeah.
I think it also depends if Garland stays, because he was saying he wasn't happy. Bert's thoughts. Doesn't matter who starts as long as he's on the floor during crunch time. Exactly. That's why I said that whole starting, that doesn't matter. It's about when we need you, when the time matters, what are you going to do when you're on that floor? That whole starting stuff is getting really like played out. Like, yeah, it's about who starts off the game, how you gonna, carry the team in the start of the game. Yeah, but trade Bogdanovich for Sadiq Bey.
Mm.
Good one.
And like I said, he's another Villanova Wildcat, Sadiq
Right,
Bey.
right. Yeah,
Hey,
I would definitely do that trade
yeah, that's a yeah.
because
Well,
he can
they may
shoot
try to
and
throw
defensively
his
aggressive.
and they may try to throw his contract in anyway, Bogey. So yeah, he's another one. He's 6'7". He has height. He's young, 25 years old. Hey,
Salute Eddie. Yeah, just
salute.
Nick Beverly. Anyone? I don't know. I don't want that kind of pass.
Oh,
We
oh
don't
yeah,
need
yeah.
throwing ball. Well, he can't throw no balls at nobody at MSG because New Yorkers don't play. We don't play that. But I don't know about that kind of pass. Good option though, but I don't know about for the Knicks.
Yeah.
CM67 salutes said exchange Randall with Kuzma for cost savings and certainty. Now I read an article about that. A possibility of what if the Knicks were to trade Randall in exchange for Kuzma, for Kyle Kuzma. Now, when I went over Kuzma's numbers, they weren't high, but then again, he was playing on Washington. But like Mikal Bridges, Kuzma stays healthy. And prior to him coming to Washington, his numbers were high. And then he has won a championship with LA. I don't know. I don't know if Kuzma's gonna give you that high efficiency like Randall does.
Yeah.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like Kuzma can score. He definitely could score. He can get a bucket, but is it to the degree of like Randall? Randall's stronger. He's great on the post, getting you the rebounds, the second chance opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't know. Walter Blackman said McConnell's not a free agent until 2025. But yeah, I read that article just yesterday about Kyle Kuzma, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like, would it pay to get Kyle Kuzma here because you're trying to have a cost savings and worry about your tax bracket versus winning. You know what
And
I mean? Like we're trying
mhm.
to get to the next level. I don't know if that's the right move to make. I like Kyle, but I would like him maybe as an addition to the bench. Somebody who could come in, give you
Yeah.
scoring, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because he can score. He can give you, 20 points a night, 25 points a night. But I'm not really sure about that. I think the other thing to me is that I don't see the Knicks parting ways with OG. I think the biggest thing is, can OG remain healthy? Maybe OG needs to go on that plant-based diet that Josh and Brunson's on. You
Oh,
know, start
okay.
eating all of the meats you eating or whatever. Or, I mean, these guys, I'm sure they have private chefs. They're able to get farm raised, you know, meats, organic foods. So
Yeah.
something's got to change because whatever you eating is also affecting your health. It's what you put in your body. You could work out all you want and get in the court and shoot 100, 200 free throws, put up 300 shots. But, I think that that's part of the reason why Josh and Brunson was able to be healthy the whole season. They changed their diet. You don't got to do it all year round, but if you do it during the season or maybe switch up some things, you know, we need to adopt the Yankees philosophy, championship or bust. Yeah. I think especially for this upcoming season, like the Knicks have proven, and I foresee for the future this Knicks team remaining a playoff bound team.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
think just going to the playoffs is enough. Like we know you can get to the first and second round. Like now, I think this team has to become more aggressive and more hungrier. Like it gets tougher as you get towards the end of the season, but you can't lose your win. You can't lose gas towards the end of the season. But I think yes, it has to be like we got to get a championship here. Not even just the fact that New York hasn't won one in years since the Clyde days and fans have been waiting for a championship, but I think that this team has to just like be relentless. The same way they were throughout the season, like that has to be the focal point, the mentality. Like forget all of that who's starting it. It's when you win, when your name is called, go out there and perform. Go out there and ball. But I think that yeah, this team has to have that mentality of like we gotta get a championship here. It can't just be well we're making the playoffs. Kuzma can't handle playing here. He'll be too distracted trying to be a fashionista. I mean, he definitely would. He's already one of the more fashionable guys and interesting fashion choices in the league, and he'll do it, especially being in New York, of course. But I think that if he's coming off the bench, and I think also when you come from a team that's losing to a team that's winning, it feels good. You ain't got to go home early. You can still play. Bogey and Burks got a chance. They was on a losing team who couldn't even win a game. And when you on a team, that changes your morale, the mood. Like you're on a team that's winning, a team that you see
Of
the heart is
course.
with. So I think Kuzma coming to a team that's winning, yeah, you'll be, SGA is into fashion too, but he comes out there in that court and plays. So I think that Kuzma, yeah, he's gonna be showing off what he's wearing in the tunnels, but I think that he will be locked in, being that he'll be on a winning team, a team that's going places. If the NBA had no salary caps, the Knicks would win every year.
Yeah, but you could say that for a lot of teams. If there was no salary cap, then shoot,
Right.
not
This is true.
necessarily.
This is true. But we'll see what the Knicks do this offseason. I think that's the biggest thing that we gotta watch out for is exactly what moves the front office is gonna make, um, and who they go after and how aggressive they'll be. Um, yeah, New York Liberty lost. yesterday, 67-84 to the Minnesota Lynx. They're now 4-2. Defense was trash in that game. Offense
Yeah.
was trash in that game. It was like they was just settling for threes. Um, Defense wasn't good. A lot of like silly turnovers. Liberty got outscored in the fourth quarter, 18-9. They came back. They were down by 22. The Liberty came back and was only down by 4. And
Yeah,
they just let Minnesota rip back into the game. I mean, just Minnesota was just making all easy baskets, easy baskets, layups, mid range. I don't know what was up with that game, but they play again on Wednesday against the Mercury. That should be interesting with Diana Taurasi. That's a 7 o'clock game on Wednesday. And then they play again on Friday against Washington, who they've already beat. But yeah, right now they in fourth. Got to be careful because you don't want to go slipping in the rankings.
yeah.
And then,
You want to go on the road. You don't want to lose four in a row. Yeah, that's not the end goal.
right, right. Um, yeah, Minnesota, they just, the only ones that play well for the Liberty, Brianna Stewart had a double double. She had 20 points, 11 rebounds. Sabrina Ionescu had 13 points. Courtney Vandersloot had 12, 6 assists. And then Leonie Fishbesh, I believe that's how you say her last name. I'm gonna get it right. She had 11 points. She was a nice spark off the bench. I already told you I'm not crazy about Naira Sabali. I know she's not her sister. I'm not trying to compare her to her sister, but she's not her sister. Satu is that girl. Satu has games she could play. But Sabali just I'm not crazy about her, especially on the defensive end. Minnesota was led by Alana Smith. She had 15. Bridget Carleton had 14. Nafisa Collar, they lucky she didn't go off because she could easily give you 30 points, but she still had a double double. She had 15 points, 12 rebounds. Kayla McBride went off, had 14 points. Not surprised she's a veteran in this league. But yeah, just Jonquel Jones got into foul trouble the last 2 games. Now she hasn't been able to get in rhythm. But Nigel Laney Hamilton, just missing layups. It just was looking real amateur hour. It was very hard to watch, especially in the third and fourth quarter. I thought the Liberty were going to try to make a push, but they just couldn't buy a basket. That was another thing. They couldn't knock down a shot. Just was looking really sloppy. I was like, what is going on here? Y'all not playing like y'all didn't finish number 1 in the East last season.
Exactly.
I'm not pulling a panic button just yet, but like you said, if y'all go on and don't win these next 2, I'm a little concerned because you can't lose 4 in a row. You lost your last 2, so now you got to regain your footing on Wednesday. I'm looking for them to beat Phoenix. They're beatable. You got to watch Diana Taurasi. She's a walking bucket. Sophie
Yeah.
Cunningham, walking bucket. Natasha Cloud, walking bucket. Rebecca Allen, who used to be on the New York Liberty, can score. And Kalia Copper has been bowling out of control. So if you don't stop, I don't. Is Brittany Griner playing? I feel like I haven't
No,
seen any highlights from her. No, right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
I
not
think
yet.
she's taking this. Is she taking the season off?
I think so.
Yeah, I haven't seen Brittany Griner playing. But Diana Taurasi, Sophie Cunningham, Kalia Copper, and Natasha Cloud. If you don't guard them, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Because Diana Taurasi, she's gonna have her way regardless. She can pass, she can shoot, she can drive. Kalia Copper is balling out of control. Every time I see a highlight of them playing, she going off. Diana Taurasi is able to relax because Kalia's going off. She carrying the weight of the team. And it's Sophie Cunningham. She's good. She's good. She actually, I saw a highlight. Her and Dejanay Carrington had got into it because Carrington had pushed her, and then her
Oh,
and Sophie was. They had a couple of words they were exchanging, but Yeah, you already proved that you could beat Washington. That game on Friday, you beat them
Yeah.
already twice. But Phoenix, you got to beat them. You got to regain your footing and beat Phoenix and beat Washington. You can't allow yourself to lose. Right now, the Connecticut Sun are 5-0.
Oh
They're number
wow.
one in the Eastern Conference. Washington is 0-6. They haven't won a game. No reason you should be losing to Washington on Friday.
Yeah.
Indiana only one game. They're 1-6. Phoenix is 3-2. So I'm gonna need them to pull out these next few wins. I could tell Sandy Brondello wasn't happy. She looked annoyed, and rightfully so.
They got 3 days. Well, four. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and they well 3 days. They play Wednesday. Yeah, they got a nice little rest.
More than enough time to have rest. Yeah. So it's no reason why you should be losing. No reason why. I don't want to see a slow start because that's another thing. I'm telling you, it's infectious. It traveled from the Knicks to the Liberty. Slow starts. These last two games that they lost, slow starts. Relying on the three. When Jonquel Jones gets in foul trouble, Sabali is not a good rebounder. Please, I know you was out. Please watch the next game. This girl, she don't put a body on nobody. She's watching like she's looking at us. I don't know what she's looking at. Just grab the ball, please. Grab the freaking ball. She's just watching. And I'm surprised that they didn't make a change for a better backup to Jonquel Jones.
Yeah, backup center.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, Brianna Stewart's been carrying the team, but it's not enough.
Yeah, your starters have at 4 points, 8 points together from starters, huh? And these are starters? Mm-mm.
Right,
Unacceptable.
right. But I think the problem too is with the offense, like yesterday in particular, the Liberty were throwing passes that weren't there. They're throwing the ball like they kept forcing it in the middle. It wasn't a pass there. Why are you throwing a ball in a bowl of traffic? Every pass, didn't I tell you on the phone? Every pass they was throwing, somebody on Minnesota was grazing a pass, or they was able to just grab the ball. I said, why are y'all doing that? And I'm sure when they watch the film, they're gonna be like, damn, we look dumb making those silly passes. I mean, passes that just they didn't make any sense. And then they were just off. They couldn't buy a basket. They were having open looks. They just couldn't knock them down. But what was more frustrating is if you know you're not knocking down the shot, I didn't see anybody driving except for Brianna Stewart. But you need help from other players on the team. It can't just be Stewie carrying the whole team every night, giving you 20, 25 points. But Nigel, I'm gonna need you to step up. And Jonquel Jones, I think the issue with her is that the Liberty are dumping the ball down to her. And now it seems like it's becoming a pattern. Every team in the WNBA is reading, okay, the Liberty are going to dump it down to her because they know that's where she lives in the paint. And they're double teaming. And
Yeah,
what's happening is frustrating Jonquel. She's not maliciously throwing an elbow, but because she's so aggressive, she jumps up many times to get the rebound. They're calling a foul on her. And now she's ending up with 3 quick fouls. And now Sandy got to put her on the bench.
mm,
So, you know, I think they got to figure out a different way besides just dumping the ball to Jonquel Jones on a block. Maybe pass it. She can hit the mid range. Maybe give it to her there because teams are double teaming her down on the bench. And I always say she doesn't move the quickest. There was a few times, sometimes I wish like as a big, she had the eyesight and the court vision like a Jokic, because there'd be so many people down low
yeah,
open. I'm
yeah.
like, damn, yo, if she could just pass that ball down low, we would have an easy layup, But she doesn't have that court vision like that. But that giving her the ball down on the post, that's not going to keep working if the Liberty keep going to that. Because teams are reading that. And I've noticed that the last 3 games they played and they're double
Yeah.
teaming her. She's getting caught. And then because she's trying to move away, they're calling a foul on her. And now it's a turnover. Something has to change offensively with this team, because another thing that's I noticed the past 2 games, too many turnovers from shot clock violations.
Well,
The
that's
Liberty get the ball, they're passing it around, and somebody finally shoots it back. The buzzer goes off, the shot clock goes off, and now it's a turnover because most of the time they couldn't even get a shot off.
well, that's something they got to work on, because that means their opponent is putting that defensive pressure on them, and they got to find a way to get the offense moving.
Yeah, I just yeah, the Mercury are a dangerous team. Copper numbers very crazy. Copper is balling out of control. She was balling last year,
Yeah, all that of control.
and now she's just going off. I think she's trying to get that MVP race. What happens if Dolan brings back a Lady Knicks team? What do we do? I don't think Dolan wants the Liberty. Clearly he don't, because if he did, he would have never
Yeah,
allowed the sale of that team to happen.
and to go to Brooklyn of all places.
That was the dumbest thing he did. It's funny because I saw someone post on IG, they went to a New York Liberty game, and it was a guy. And he said, "Oh, I've been to Nets games." He said, "And this is my first New York Liberty game." And he was showing like a pan view of the crowd. And he said, "The Nets games are not like this." He said, one, because they don't win, but he said, the Liberty game is, he said, I had a really good time. Like, he said, I didn't think I was going to have this much fun. He said, I knew I was going to enjoy myself, but he was like, yo, I had a really good time. He said, from just the timeout performances, from the game itself, the energy, he was like, it's unfortunate that they're not playing in the Garden,
Exactly.
which is true. I don't understand why they didn't just keep them. You're the New York Liberty, not the Brooklyn Liberty. It's just dumb, but it is what it is. But we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll do a post game coverage before the Liberties game on Wednesday against Phoenix. I will be watching. Let me see if Phoenix has a game before then. Oh, yep. So they're playing a back to back. So maybe the Liberty can capitalize. They play on Tuesday against Connecticut. Connecticut's undefeated, so they may try to keep that record going and beat Phoenix. Phoenix, if they lose, may try to capitalize and beat the Liberty, but the Liberty's been rested, so you should be able to capitalize and win on Wednesday. So yeah, they play in a back to back Connecticut. They play Tuesday and again on Wednesday. So I want to see if the Liberty be able to beat Phoenix. They're beatable. They're just gonna have to come out just a lot more aggressive, and they got to tweak some things on the offensive end too. It looks crazy. So we'll see. But shout out to the chat, everybody that was joining us today on this beautiful Sunday. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Corey Lee, Kareem Grant, Edward Brown, um, Robert Woodard for joining us. Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. I will be watching a replay from last night's episode. I didn't get to catch it all, but I'll be listening to that today.
Listen to some of it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be watching that. Salute to Ajay, Coach SAR 617 for joining us. Check out Corey Lee and the 718 Boys Boulevard. Salute to him as well. AP for joining us. Who else? A Negro One, Old Head, TJ Honablu for joining us. Parish Duggar, always tuning into the chat and writing us. Salute to you, Just Nix. And I think I got everybody. Joe Curry, salute to you. Joe Curry has some really good trade talks in the chat. Really good ones. Salute to you, Joe Curry. Bucks Thoughts. Salute to you. Eddie C, always tuning in. Salute to you. Walter Blackman, salute to you as well. CM67, salute to you. Nick Yak, salute to you as well, always joining us. And those of you who weren't in the chat, salute to you as well for tuning in and joining us. The replay gang, salute to you as well. Hit the like button, guys, before you get out of here. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.